Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a roadmap live stream for Train Sim World. It's lovely to be back with you this evening, taking on a cameo appearance because Alex is unfortunately unwell today. I'm JD. It's lovely to be here with you, and as ever, we are joined by the captain of this particular ship. It is Matt Pedalston, our executive producer. Hello, Matt.
Hello, how's everybody?
Good, good. I'm very well, thank you, Matt. I'm going to class myself as part of that, everybody. How are you doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not doing too bad at all.
Good, good. Just as we always do, can we just get a quick mic check for everybody? Everybody got a good sound experience in their lives? Just let us know in the chat. If not, we will proceed as we should do with, let's say, some admin. You've all missed it, everybody. It is back, the admin at the start of a live stream. Matt's like, oh god, what have I let myself in for here? Of course, this is the roadmap. If you have not checked out the roadmap already, if you're watching on YouTube, there is a link in the description. Please make sure you check it out. There's loads and loads of great stuff in there this particular month. We're going to talk a little bit about how we've put it together this month as well. But instead, let's kick off then with a little bit of an introduction. If you're new to the roadmap, if you're coming in for the first time, this is our opportunity to talk a little bit about everything that's going on in the world of Train Sim World. We'll talk a little bit about things that have happened, things that are yet to come, and also some longer term bits and pieces, as well as answer your questions as well. We have some questions already prepared because we put a Q&A thread out in the forums, but we'll be taking some live questions too. I'll give you a shout when we're starting to take those questions, but I'll try and grab you some live ones as well if they are relevant to what we are talking about. As ever, with the kinds of questions that we get asked, we love the kind of more generalized questions, the ones that really give us an opportunity to sort of talk about the game, yes, no answers, things like that. Maybe not the kind of thing that we're really that interested in as part of the roadmap. We can get those answered on things like the forums. Let's give us an opportunity to talk and work through some of these questions. So let's kick off this month by showcasing the roadmap image for this particular month, and it is a big one. So let's go over to what we can see. So we announced this month that the Frankfurt S-Bahn is coming to Train Sim World 5. That is very exciting. It's something that I think when we announced it, a lot of people were very, very interested by. Quick note, this will be a Gen 9 only add-on. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe when we go through the section on it. But also you can see Thomas and Friends in there as well. Thomas and Friends visit the West Somerset Railway. And then we'll talk about Cardiff, which there was some news for today. And also we can talk a little bit about everything else that is on the roadmap, including our first ever Dutch route, Zwolle, Groningen. So there's some exciting stuff on there, Matt. What are you most looking forward to coming up in the next, let's use the 3 to 6 months category. What's your most exciting thing?
In the 3 to 6 months
Sorry,
category.
0 to 3 months. Blimey,
No, to three
it's been a
months.
while, everybody. It's been a while. 0 to 3 months. 0 to 3 months.
Oh dear. So looking at that little list there, there's a lot to look forward to. I'm gonna take the fifth, um, and I'm gonna hold my silence because honestly, all of it is because like you got Frankfurt S-Bahn is going to be epically busy. It's Frankfurt and it's a network route. It's awesome. Thomas, enough said. Cardiff City Network has been a personal favourite project of mine, both to watch the team work on, to play test and so forth. And I love the little DMUs. It's a network route. And the Dutch route, oh, it's looking good. Yeah, it's looking good. And I always like Skyhook's cargo line packs. So, yeah, I can't pick one. I'm looking forward to all of it. There is all good stuff here.
Great. And actually, do you know what? One of the things that we were thinking, like, because March is such a busy month, what we thought we'd do is we create a really awesome asset that summed up everything that you can expect just within the next sort of I would say we call it the springtime sprint. Expect all this stuff within the next kind of month and a half, couple of months, because there's a lot of things to look forward to. Look at this great asset. These the two locos from Zwolle, Groningen, and the Cardiff City Network. So you can expect Mildmay Line. Obviously, that came out earlier this week. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Cardiff City Network announced today that it was coming on, or is coming on the 18th of March. So put that in your diaries. We also put together our first look video, which we'll show as part of this live stream as well. Then Zwolle Groningen is also coming towards the back end of March, which is also very exciting. Train World VR New York, if you have a MetaQuest headset, is 10% off for pre-order. That launches on the 27th of March, and then we have a lot of other things to look forward to, including the East Coast Mainline Diesel Pack from Athena Simulations, their first ever Train Sim World piece of content, and there's a couple of other bits and pieces. Just wanted to point out the Train Simulator Classic bits and pieces. We had an update or a release for Train Sim Classic today. It's kind of what you may expect from what's been coming out over the course of the last few months. So, also, of course, it's someone's pointed out in the chat. It is the graphic to clash with the first F1 race this week as well. So yeah, obviously we completely intended that. It was absolutely designed to happen. So thank you very much for pointing that out and making us look more intelligent than we actually are. Let's go back to the head cams. Let's kick off then with we're going to go in a little bit of an odd order this time. Alex isn't here, so I'm going to mess around with the order because there's lots of things that have been going on, and we're going to start with Cardiff because as of today we announced that is coming to Train Sim World 5 on the 18th of March, and we showcased a first look of the route, and we're going to do that for you right now as well. If you've not seen it already, it's on our YouTube channel, but here's a little taste of what the route is all about. So there we go. Hope that's whetted your appetites. That is the Cardiff City Network route, and I think we should start with talking a little bit about what players can expect. So you get the BR Class 153, and that will come in two variants, the 1533 and the 1539, and they offer a slightly different passenger interior, with the 3 being a PRM compliant rail car featuring an accessible toilet. That apparently got quite a lot of people very excited. By accessible toilet, we don't mean you can go in it. We mean that obviously everybody is able in the real world to be able to go to the loo, which is great. And then the 1539, it's going to be one of those streams, is a light PRM compliant unit. It doesn't feature the toilet, unfortunately. So Matt, in terms of what players can be really looking forward to with this particular route, how has the process been to get it to this point, and actually what kinds of things should players look out for?
It's been an interesting day. The team went out to do reference trips for all the stations on the route. They went and they spent a couple of days, 2 or 3 days down there gathering reference. But we actually went up to ScotRail to get the sounds for the 153. Which was fun. So that's all new sounds. Sounds on the 150 are the original sound set that was on the other 150 that exists, but the way it's been implemented has been adjusted, and the physics on the train have been adjusted. So it is fundamentally the same sound set, but it hopefully it'll sound better. We do have a Class 150 recording trip on the cards. If something comes off there, then we can look at updating it. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get a Class 150 recording trip for this so far. So that's why we've got where we are. But it is better than it was. But now in terms of your experience, really, this is a network route. So you'll be going from like Rada to Rada via Cardiff, which is a big loop, or Penarth to Carlton, which is via Cardiff, obviously. Is quite a varied route. You get you sort of like a bit speed up, slow down, and then quite a speedy run then after Cardiff before you take the turn off and do the branch services down to Corriton. You've got the little services down at between Queen Street and Bay, and obviously with the 153, the little dog box. Versus the 150. There's some really fun, interesting things. Interesting, different experiences to drive as well. I'm really, really happy that we've got these two key bit DMUs in the library now. So it's great fun. It's great fun. There's some, as you can see there's some really cool, iconic visuals there that you can get. And there's some quite fun scenarios. Actually, the team have stretched it a bit on the in terms of what you do with the scenarios beyond the normal. But it's a busy timetable. There's lots of extra stuff there, like the oh look, one of your leaks, JD. There's some extra.
I was so happy that ended up in one of the screenshots.
So you've got layers that bring in Great Western stock as well as having some freight stock going through. So a lot of the stuff you do you'll be basically going in and around Cardiff, which was always the idea. But every time you visit Cardiff, your train goes through Cardiff, it feels really busy. There's always lots of stuff happening. So I'm really enjoying this route. It's something it's a UK route unlike anything we've done so far.
Yeah, I think that I've seen a lot of people very excited for Cardiff. Even when we announced it, I can't. Did we announce Cardiff? I think we announced Cardiff in the direct. There was a lot of people who were very keen on us having first of all Welsh representation in the game, but also, as you say, this is a very different gameplay experience to what players might be accustomed to within Train Sim World. So I'm excited for this one, and we will have the preview live stream next Wednesday, I believe, on the 12th, so you can watch it there. Just going quickly back to the audio discussion, I would say if you are interested in understanding what the difference between the two 150s may be, like as in the old 150 and the new 150, it's probably best represented in the live stream environment, because you'll be operating the train in lots of different environments. So the physics changes combined with the audio adapting to those changes probably gives a better representation of what those changes are, despite the fact that they're pretty much the same sort of sound set. They should be mixed in a slightly different way. So we've got some player questions on this one. So Samuel Power asked a question that I think we've already kind of touched on already, was what was the process of research for Cardiff City Network? How involved were TFW?
TFW have obviously approved the use of everything, but we and they allowed us to go and do the survey on the stations. But like I said, we weren't able to get access to any of the trains, so modest. A lot of different railway operators have got different space in their schedules to do different things, and we have to work around that.
Okay. Will the HST on Cardiff be playable or just AI?
It's just AI.
And then Steve 08 asked, will the Class 150 on Cardiff have working guard panels by the staff doors?
Yeah, you've got the. Let me double check. I thought I misread that as 153. Let me go and double check that. I believe it will though.
Okay. And the lighting in Cardiff Central is very yellow IRL. Kumru Gyad, I'm sure I've mispronounced that. I can only apologise. Says, could this be adjusted for the game?
I'm going to go and have a look and talk to the team. It probably won't change for release, but yeah, you're right. If the colour's wrong, then I'll go and get the team to change that.
Cool. Bill's asked, will there be Welsh station announcements?
No.
No. Okay. And I think there's any other questions that have come through in the chat. Will there be suspension physics? Welsh Rail asked on the 150 and 153. I believe that's standard practice now for us.
It is. Yes,
yep.
There is.
Liam Eds asked, is this similar to Cathcart for gameplay?
So Cathcart-ish, but I think this is probably more than that. Because you've got multiple endpoints and start points, more so than a route which is sort of like, Cardiff. Cardiff Central's in the middle of the route here, whereas Glasgow obviously is at one end. Whereas in this end, your jobs will start in various places, whether it's Rada, Corriton, Penarth, or Cardiff Bay. There's all sorts of natural places to start and run through. Most of your journeys will take you through Cardiff, one way or the other. So yeah, it's probably the closest route that's like it, but it's I'd say it was more so than in that way than Cathcart was. I'm enjoying this more than Cathcart. Put it that way.
And you like Cathcart, so that's.
And I still like Cathcart. Yeah. I still like Cathcart. I played it just recently. Yeah. I still like it, and but hey, I like this one. I like the fact that we've got TFW in the game, and we've got some, as you say, Welsh representation in there now. But also, DMUs are a bit of a change of pace from all the EMUs. So yeah, that's something I'm really enjoying.
Cool. And final question: is there any freight on the route?
There's AI only freight on the route.
But yes, is that the GWE?
That's the EW, the 66 that rumbles up and down. So yeah, Cardiff sees a fair bit of freight going through it. But there's nothing you can drive because there's not really anywhere from or to. There is RHTT services as well. The Railhead treatment train. There's a couple of those.
Cool. And I think there was just a question about the difference between the two variants of the 153. It's to do with the way that the passenger spaces are laid out and accessible toilets. So that's the big difference.
Inaccessible.
Well, yeah. Yes, inaccessible to you folks at home, but accessible to everyone in real life. Cool. Okay. Well, let's. There was one more thing just quickly I wanted to share on Cardiff. This is something that is just a little bit of a passion project, I think, of both Matt and myself. So we partnered with the brilliant charity Calm, or Campaign Against Living Miserably, and as part of the Cardiff update, we've been able to get some of these posters into game, which is one of their campaigns called Stay, which aims to reduce some of the stigma associated with talking about mental health, specifically suicides, and hopefully we hope it will trigger a lot of people to have more constructive and more in-depth conversations about mental health, and spread awareness of the great work that the charity do. So keep an eye out for those. We're really happy to be able to get those into game, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of this kind of thing in the future. So let's move back on and let's talk about what the big announcement for this particular roadmap was, which was the Frankfurt S-Bahn S1, S8 and S9. So we're going to be representing the S1, S8 and S9 lines of the S-Bahn Rhine-Main network, covering over 80 kilometers and 25 stations between Frankfurt, including the underground TF platforms to Wiesbaden Hauptbahnhof. So that will contain the DBBR 430, the hard-working EMU, which operates the bulk of the traffic, and it's a 4-car high-capacity EMU that's been in operation for about a decade. So let's just show some pictures while we do some more talking about it. I'm going to show the screenshots first, then we can talk about the route map. So these are some of the screenshots of the route that we shared in the roadmap. If you want to take a look at these in more detail, you can do on the actual article. But the modern fittings of the 430 make it a bit different to the 422. And at this point, as I say, we're going to be a little bit coy on providing too much more information at this stage, but you'll get the 423 as well on that's sort of had a little bit of some physics upgrades, and also a few other kind of licks of paint as well. So we're excited for this. Again, it's a slightly different kind of route to maybe what a lot of players would have been used to from us, particularly from sort of our German players. But Matt, is there anything you would like to specifically talk about related to Frankfurt? There's a lot to talk about, but it's a little bit further out at this point, and we want to try and make sure we give the right information at the right times.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing really, the reason we chose a route like this, Lucas said he didn't make it or he's going to stomp his feet. But also bluntly, because Lucas and I have been talking about wanting to do a really solid S-Bahn route, a busy commuter networky style route again, and Lucas came up with the sort of this design, and as you know, with the track plan and so forth. There we go. So this is the sort of the design that came up with, and it's incredibly interesting. It's lots of different things, and we thought actually this is a very different type of German route. Rather than doing another German route which is similar to the other German routes, we're trying to come up with route offerings which differ and add something to the experience. And this most definitely does that. We don't think we've done an S-Bahn route anything like this. Don't think we've done a German route anything like this. So I'm looking, this type of gameplay is kind of my favourite. This kind of dense commuter stuff, where the time pressure of hopping from stop to stop to stop to stop as you go down the line. But then the fact that you've got 3 different journeys that you can take, and you can see the various other alternative paths and so forth. This is a route it's just going to keep giving. I'm really looking forward to driving on this one.
Yeah, and I think as I say, similar to Cardiff, it's a different experience. I'm hoping that players will have a lot of fun trying something a little bit different. We have some questions from the players. I'm going to caveat some of this with the fact that we'll probably give you more information in the next few weeks, and there'll obviously also be a preview live stream, first look video, all of that jazz. But maybe just a few questions. So Tio, a combination of Tio and Frank 351981, more numbers, says, what kind of layers will there be? I don't think we have to be specific necessarily at this point, but what kind of additional gameplay can players expect, Matt?
So Frankfurter stuff, ICT, Flicks, Freight, BR628, and lots more besides.
Okay. Is Frankfurt Flughafen Fernbahnhof included?
No, sadly.
No. And how does that impact the ICE services?
Some ICE services go by it, but the ones that go via the Fernbahnhof obviously are I can't remember exactly how they're handled, but they were playable.
Okay. And how does this version of Mainz Hauptbahnhof differ from what was on offer in Linker Rheinstrecke, bearing in mind the time difference in the two routes are represented?
I mean, it's essentially a new station. It's bigger, modern day. It's got a new walkway above the station. There's a lot more to it. So yeah, quite different.
Okay, cool. So again, appreciate everyone's very excited. We are going to move on from Frankfurt S-Bahn because...
Before we do that, JD, I've just had one thing. Lucas just pinged me about the screenshots. Apparently, are showing the Frankfurt Boulder 423, and there is a different 423 that will ultimately make it into the pack when it comes out. I think it's a relatively recent addition. So there will be we'll show some shots of that when it's finalised. But that'll be coming as well. He's tried to explain to me why it's different, and I'm not understanding the acronyms. So I'll just pass on the message that the 423 will not be exactly the one that you're seeing there. There's a better one coming.
Yeah, and of course we'll give you more information, as I said, closer to the time. So as I say, we'll have previous streams where we'll be able to focus pretty much entirely on, well, we will focus entirely on the route and what it has to offer. We'll have some articles in the next few weeks too. So we'll move on from Frankfurt, because the other kind of, I'm going to say it's a new announcement, but I wouldn't say it's a new to Train Sim World players or Train Sim World veterans, let's say, because we were delighted to bring back to the roadmap the 420, which has been developed by TSG. So that is very exciting, I think, for all of us that have been here for more than from about Train Sim World 2, because it's been in a kind of a state of inertia for a little while, and with the release of Frankfurt, we finally have a really good route that we can let it sort of stretch its legs on. So I'm going to quickly show some pictures. This Munich variant modernised 8th series upgrades with swinging doors and digital displays, while the Frankfurt version is a 7th series with the sliding doors and analog gauges from the 1970s. So this will still include the Munich S-Bahn version, but obviously it will be playable on Frankfurt 2, and it'll include its own Frankfurt S-Bahn timetable, and also can be used on Munich Augsburg in free roam and scenario planner as well. Matt, I mean, I know we've talked about the 420 on many an old live stream back in the day, but is this something that you're going to be taking out for a spin?
I used to drive the 420 on TS Classic a lot. The 420 has got old school motors, which means it's got that kind of grindy old train sound, as well as having an older looking cab in there. It's just such a fun train to drive, and to the oral experience of it as you're driving as well. And I haven't seen the 420 actually in TSW for a while now, so seeing those screenshots, I was looking at them drooling a little bit. I've got to be honest, it's kind of I want. So I'm kind of, yeah, I know I say I want everything, but I actually do want everything, so I think it's fine.
Matt's basically a kid in a sweet shop at this point.
Oh, it's I am Charlie in the factory.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, again, we'll have more on this in the coming weeks. Just a little quick note: the 420 will, because obviously it runs on Frankfurt Fulda, sorry, not Frankfurt Fulda, Frankfurt S-Bahn, be a 9th gen only add-on as well. So please bear that in mind. Just a little note before we finish on that one. So let's then move on to, we're going in a really random order, but I love it. We're going to move on to Zwolle, the Spoorlijn Zwolle Groningen, and I can sense the Dutch players inwardly groaning and cringing at the pronunciation. Get used to it, everybody. We've had German, we've had Welsh, and we've had Dutch so far. So yeah, it will continue. Zwolle Groningen, we showed you some new screenshots, which I'm going to put in the on the stream now. For those of you who are not aware, this is our first Dutch route, 107 kilometers of track length, 8 stations. It's going to have the SNG Sprint 3-car EMU. See, springtime sprint, sprinters. Yeah, it wasn't just thrown together, and the ICMM Koplopper 3-car EMU rolling stock as well. So one of the exciting things actually with this particular route is that the Frankfurt Fulda DB Vectron supports Dutch signalling. So screen updates, English Dutch sounds, ATB safety system, those are all going to be featured as part of the pack as well. And I believe, Matt, that was an external developer that helped us with that.
Yeah. Big shout out to a lot of the community will know Foob, who helped us with the upgrade to adding ATB onto the Vectron. So yeah, definitely much appreciated.
And I'm just looking at the chat right now, but I can imagine there are a lot of Dutch people in the chat right now.
The screenshot
in
the dark in the dark of the ICM is so good.
Yeah, I can imagine that there are a lot of people who have clipped my attempted pronunciation, just been like English, But hopefully you're enjoying the route anyway. Let's see if there's any questions on this particular add-on, because I think, as I say, there are a lot of people who are very interested in it, and there will be more information coming out in late March, so you can expect stuff relatively soon on Zwolle Groningen. Let's go back to the cams. Joe Kim's asked, are there plans to include ATB in the BR406 while it doesn't run on this route is equipped for the Dutch network?
No plans at this time, no.
No. Ruzi said, is the Vectron included in the route?
Don't think so.
Not as part of the pack. I think it'll be a layer, I guess. Sorry, I might have misspoke. I probably misspoke earlier. Actually, it's a layer, I think.
It's just the 2 trains coming in this pack.
Okay. Vuta Lafer says, will there be guard mode?
I believe so. Yeah. Let me go and double check that. But where guard mode is appropriate, we include guard mode. It's the same as suspension must always be there.
Yeah. Okay. I think that I'm just trying to look and see. Sporwagen asks, very exciting, will there be an ICM4? I mean, I think that's kind of maybe a future thing, but not on the roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, we've just done specifically the ICM M3, which is the 3-car version. The 4-car version is slightly different, same as we've done the SNG3. So it's it's something that if things happen in the future and we want to do something more, then we can look at it. But we're only doing the ICM M3 and the SNG3 that we've done.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move away from Dutch route. That's coming towards the back end of March. Thanks everyone for your questions. We will have a little bit of time at the end for some of the additional stuff that comes through. Just while I remember, Aaron in the chat has asked any news of a Fife Circle 158 timetable. I have a little bit of an update on this, but not through us. So in the forums, Adam put a little comment in the roadmap thread just to say that they've made some good progress and there is light at the end of the tunnel for it. So that is a good bit of good news, and we'll update you as and when we have something more tangible for you. Okay, let's go back in time now. So we've gone forward. Let's go back in time and talk a little bit about Mildmay, which released earlier this week. So Mildmay Line, which was developed by Incredible Trains, solo developer, as part of the kind of one of the latest partner program developers to join Train Sim World. They are the sole Johannes is the sole developer, and we were delighted to be able to bring the route to you folks. It became what was a side project during a PhD, ended up using the PC Editor to become the route that you can see live now, which is a great success story for people who are wanting to get familiar with the tool set and think maybe, do you know what, I could do that. Living proof that you can. So let's talk a little bit about the route. I think it's probably fair to say that the actual route content itself has been received really, really well, and there's been lots of really positive comments for the work that Johannes and the internal teams have done to try and represent the route. But it has had some challenges associated with it, Matt. A few blurry, particularly on console, so blurry textures, some crashing. Can you give us a little bit of information about that and what we're doing to resolve those issues?
Yeah, myself and the third-party team have been working closely with Johannes to try and understand, what the cause of the issue is. Sometimes these things do not represent on our dev kits, because dev kits have extra debug memory available to them, so that's not always helpful. So we've been going through having a more detailed look over the performance reports, and we've identified a number of issues. Johannes has already given us an update with a number of fixes in it, and they haven't completed the job. They have moved the needle. So we're seeing things move in the right direction, but I think we need to keep doing a little bit more work. But Johannes and indeed the team at Dovetail are working very hard to try and understand what's happened there and rectify it. So, we are making Johannes, full credit to Johannes doing the work. is making good progress, and very, very passionate about getting you an update as soon as possible.
Yes. So depends when that update is delivered, but it may well be that some platforms we want to get it out as soon as possible. So it might be that some platforms get that update before others. But obviously we will keep people posted for when you can expect the update on your particular platform. So it is in the works. We are looking at it, and we will get it to you as soon as we can. Anything else you wanted to mention around Mildmay? There was a question about will there be Mildmay AI layers on the GWE Remaster, Matt? I don't know if we can answer that.
I'm not aware of that, but we'll. I need to now that Mildmay is a thing. I can have a catch up with Liam and find out whether or not that's accommodated in the remaster.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. We'll move briefly on to. We will go back to the future now. 87 miles an hour, is it? 88 miles an hour. We will go back in that direction. So we'll talk a little bit about Thomas and Friends. Very briefly touch on that because if you haven't seen it already, we showed a first look of Thomas to the world last Thursday, and if you haven't seen it already, I think you might enjoy this. That whistle, love that whistle.
Music. The music.
And the music as well. Mattel's Thomas and Friends is coming to Train Sim World in spring 2025. It will require TSW5 and the West Somerset Railway route add-on. So if you've not got them already, keep an eye out. There will be a starter bundle available for people who have not got either of those two things, but you'll be able to catch up with your favourite characters featuring Thomas, the tank engine, Annie, Clarabelle, Diesel, and the troublesome trucks as well. So it's a very different add-on, this one. It's a multi-part story featuring a fun narrative that will allow you to kind of check through a series of different scenarios. But of course you can also take Thomas on the tracks, additional timetable for West Somerset Railway, and you can also use them on any route on using free roam as well. So we really look forward to seeing what people do with Thomas and his friends when you can use them on free roam, and there'll be tutorials for Thomas and Diesel for everyone to be able to pick up and play. So we will have more information on Thomas and what you can expect from the add-on in the coming weeks, and it will be coming to TSW5 in spring 2025. So we know you're super eager to hear more, and when we have when we're able to share more information, we will do. But alongside that, the team have been doing some really good work on improving West Somerset Railway alongside the add-on. So I'm just going to quickly share some examples of the upgrades that the team have done. Here we go. So it's getting a range of updates to elevate the foliage and landscape across the route, bringing a range of improvements such as a conductor mode for the MK1 coaches and new suspension physics to all of the West Somerset Railway rolling stock as well. So improved foliage and landscape materials, improved route and signal lighting. We've improved the tracks to include TSW5's distance shadows, added suspension to all West Somerset Railway stock, including the Class 33 and 52. We've added conductor mode to the MK1s. We've replaced all the benches with interactive ones for passengers, so you can sit down. Opened up footbridges for passengers and the player, and there's lots more as well. We'll put a full patch list out as well when we get to release. So that's a nice little additional benefit coming with the release of Thomas and Friends Visit the West Somerset Railway.
One of the other things you saw that in one of the screenshots that was there, particularly the last screenshot. One of the core changes done to support Mittenwaldbahn was allowing passengers to safely cross the tracks. and which previously couldn't be done. They would just cross the tracks all the time. And as part of Mittenwaldbahn, a core change was done to actually make that where they don't cross when there's a train coming nearby. And so where Somerset now has that feature as well.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Okay, we'll move on to let's. I think that's pretty much everything from that we are working on. So let's talk a little bit about some of the work that's going on from our partner program. So we'll start with the ECML, so the East Coast Mainline Diesel Railtour pack from Athena Simulations. So that is also included as part of our springtime sprint. So you can expect that in the nearish future. I'm going to show you some pictures of what you can expect. Let's go. So they provided an update on their progress in this month's roadmap for the Railtours pack. It'll include 3 iconic locomotives: the BR Class 40 Whistler, the Class 45 Peak, and a new Class 47, the 47482 Eisenbahn Kingdom Brunel, alongside the new Mark 1 coaches with BG, TSO, BSO, and FK variants for the East Coast Main Line. There'll be 10 scenarios, including depot movements and special rail tours with layers across existing TSW5 routes and timetables. It's conceived as a spiritual sequel, try and say that 10 times, to Diesel Legends of the Great Western, bringing classic traction to the East Coast Main Line. So there's a lot of things to be excited about there. The Eisenbahn Kingdom Brunel, I think in particular, is particularly exciting there. But Matt, is anything in particular you wanted to call out from this pack?
It's going to be a fun, interesting pack. For me, it's just all about getting 47484. It's always been a favourite of the 47s. I used to enjoy spotting it when it was local to me when I was growing up. So yeah, no, that's probably the highlight for me is a new 47, some blue grey Mark 1s, and specifically 484.
Nice. Okay, we'll go to our friends at Just Trains, who are working on the BR Class 86-2 and the Mark 2F coaches. Let's show some pictures of their progress. So you can see the interiors of the Mark 2F coaches, including the first class and second class variants as well. So the first class seats are wider and more luxurious, while second class seats are less plush. I think that's obviously been quite generous. I think less plush if you've ever been in second class. No, not the one. And it's split between BSO coach. It's split between passenger seating and a guards area, with vestibule areas featuring automatic doors, though users will need to manually operate the handle in the game. And they've also revealed a new livery for the Class 86-2, featuring a unique design with the red buffer beams. I think it was what you've just seen. A black headco box and a centre headlight. It represents the City of Coventry locomotive, which had TDM cables for coach lighting and communication, as well as a high-speed pantograph allowing for higher speed capability than other variants. So again, lots to be excited for. I'll come back to you, Matt. Thoughts?
I mean, the 86 was always the one that ran up and down by me on the Great Eastern Main Line, so I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'll never say no to new coaches. And Just Trains do a beautiful job, so we'll finally have the more modern looking Mark 2F coaches. So that's going to make a big difference. So yeah, no, the 80s and the 86 is a ton of fun to drive. If anyone's played the 87, it's the same sort of idea as the 87. But yeah, really, really good fun, and just personally because it was what I saw a lot when I was growing up. I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Feels like everyone's smoking trains that were next to me when I was growing up. Well done, folks.
I was going to say that. I mean, I know you're exec producer, but I feel like you've had quite an influence on a lot of the stuff. Bearing in mind how excited you are.
No influence whatsoever. No influence whatsoever.
Just great
trains. Developers just naturally make the right decision, you know.
Yes.
No, it's really cool. It's really cool. So yeah, no, big shout out to Just Trains. They're doing great work.
Great. So we'll move on then to the Santa Fe gameplay pack for Cajon Pass by High Iron Sims. We showed these screenshots in the most recent roadmap, I think in February, but we'll show them again for you just in case you've not seen them. We will have more screenshots for future roadmaps. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get these through our licensing some updated ones to our licensing team in time, but we'll show those hopefully on social at some point this month. They're making good progress, focusing on the final stage of development for the pack. They've been refining 2 locomotives, the Santa Fe EMD SD42 and the AT and SF GE-840CW, finalising the rolling stock, which includes the new AT and SF freight cars and 3 repainted TSW freight cars in Santa Fe liveries. So it aims to deliver an authentic experience with timetable services, including player drivable mainline, intermodal and freight train switching and local services based on actual Santa Fe freight schedules. So Union Pacific freight movements across Cajon Pass will also be represented with an extra layer using UP equipment from Sherman Hill route. So the scenarios are in development with more details to come soon. So I know this one was particularly exciting for a lot of our US players, particularly freight fans. These look like some pretty big units, Matt.
I mean, the SD14, the yellow and the blue is okay. Is okay, but that loco in the Kodachrome, red and silver, probably one of my favourite liveries from the US. To be honest, it's such an iconic livery, and it's so beautifully recreated. So, yeah, that's probably what I'm going to be spending a lot of time in. But it's good to be seeing Santa Fe getting some representation actually as well, and add a bit of variety to it. There's some nice cars coming in there as well. And I'm interested to get feedback from our first US third party, I think, and how players sort of react to what they're creating. And I know that High Iron have got some really good plans as well going forward. So expect great things.
Yeah, and I've seen a really positive reaction to the pack as well. So I'm looking forward to getting this one in players' hands. Final visit to our partner program this week comes from, or this month even, comes from Skyhook. So they provided a brief update on their Cargo Line Volume 3 pack, which is moving along well this month. I'm going to show some quick pictures. So it'll include a Class 66 diesel locomotive in DB red and grey, as well as a new FCA intermodal spine wagon in EWS maroon livery. The wagon features multiple container locking points along a central spine with conventional draw gear and buffers at one end and a permanent connecting bar at the other for linking twin wagons. A dynamic container load ensures that no 2 trains are identical. That's a cool little feature. The pack will offer gameplay for both West Coast Mainline, London Euston to Milton Keynes, and ECML Peterborough to Doncaster routes, including journey mode, 3 scenarios on each route, and timetable services as well. They're also working hard on the Volume 4 pack, with more existing content to be announced in the future. And if you want to scroll back to January, there was a little teaser for what that Volume 4 pack might entail. So feel free to scroll back through the archives of our roadmap to see what they could be talking about. Okay, that goes through kind of add-ons and bits and pieces. Let's talk a little bit about patches. So Mittenwaldbahn was released a few weeks ago now, and we have a post-release improvement which we'll be bringing to that particular route that the TSG team have put together. I'm going to list all of the things that are included in it. So this is a little bit of a monologue. I apologise, but I'd like to get you the right information. So this patch will include track visuals no longer becoming almost black in snowy conditions. The RBB 1020 audio level adjustments will be about 60% louder. Cows will no longer wander on the track and react to horns correctly. I've seen a few screenshots involving that one. They'll adjust the track ballast snow cover to be the same as the landscape snow. They've adjusted the LODs on the Siebling wagons. They fixed the RBB on 1020 chassis textures now have the correct occlusion textures. They fixed the behaviour of the Induzi magnets on Innsbruck and removed the mouse click sound that was in the RMS freight wagon recordings as well. So there's a lot of nice quality of life improvements there. That will be something that we'll be looking to get in players' hands as quickly as we can do. And in terms of improving, implementing signal fixes across the route, they're also improving the visibility of distant mountains on Series X as well. That'll also be included in a future update to Mittenwaldbahn, not this one.
It's a core update to the game whereby we're going to enable starting with Mittenwaldbahn, we're going to enable that route, and we're going to see how that goes. And if that goes okay, then we might look at adding that then for other routes which could benefit from it as well. But yeah, it's a core change that we work with Lucas on.
Yeah. Matt, is there anything else in the way of I would say post patch improvements that players, or that we're working on at the moment, that players might want to find out about? I mean, I think the kind of the overlying, or I guess the underlying thing is through all of the patches that we're trying to do, kind of number one priority is stability and improving that kind of experience within for players, particularly on the core routes for Train Sim World 5. But are there any other things that we are investigating and looking at the moment?
There's a range of stuff. I can't remember anything off the top of my head that there's spin specific, but we're always going through the tickets. We work with the beta testers who are regularly reminding us of issues, just to make sure that they stay on the radar and get reprioritized and so forth. So again, big shout out to the beta testers. They keep telling me, I feel like we're being too annoying. I'm like, no, be more annoying. It's great. It's not annoying at all. It's exactly what we need to keep us looking at the right things, the things that are important to people. So there is a range of stuff being looked at across different content. But as you say, actually, what the majority of what needs to be looked at now is, and what is being looked at is really about the performance and the memory and the videos, and it's very visuals.
Yeah, the blurry textures and the memory leaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So someone's asked PC Editor update as well. So Marky there is a batch of PC Editor improvements, I believe,
Yeah.
that are queued up in our queue, and we'll hope to get those out
We've
to you
got
soon.
we've got some very cool stuff coming there. Will Kay, who was working on that, has done some really cool things to make modding easier. Including a little wizard, which lets you make that process, building content, cooking content, much easier. And a number of fixes and improvements to the general process of how it all works. So yeah, we're hoping to get that through the process and released as soon as possible.
Yes, and if you haven't checked out the roadmap and you are interested in trying to create your own content for Train Sim World via the editor, we have shared a playlist of really good introductory videos from one of the Dovetail team who put it on there. I think it's their personal YouTube channel, actually, Rob Powell. So if you were interested in finding out a little bit more about how to get started, or you're stuck on something, they're a really good resource if you are interested in taking part. So they're on there. There's a link to that on the roadmap. You have to scroll down a little bit, but you should find it. And there's one in there, but you can check out the full playlist for more information. Yeah, there's a SimWorld Life a question about, just while we're talking about improvements, passenger behaviours. I think, Matt, that falls under the investigating territory as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, we're going to specifically look at the Mildmay passengers to see where that we've been looking at. Obviously, we're starting out our research at the moment on the performance and the blurry textures and crashing as the first priority. We have started looking at the passenger side of it as well, and there might be a couple of things we've found there so far related to spawn volumes. So work is ongoing, but it's taking sort of backseat on that compared to the performance and optimization side of it at the moment. But I suspect it might be too much longer before we've nailed that side of it, and then we all hands on deck for passengers.
Cool. Thunder One asks, will PC Editor creations have console support, not the editor itself, but the finished product? I think what you're seeing with Mildmay is the finished product being available on all platforms. I don't know if they're referring to mods or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that there's a general no. The answer to that is that the general PC editor, while the content it creates is capable of being used on a console, it has to go through our build system and distribution system to get it onto a console. And we haven't been able to make any headway in terms of trying to figure that path out. It's not had tons of time looking at it either, to be fair, and it's not the same problem quite as the way that other games are doing it. It's sadly it's always different. Yeah, the devil is in the detail in a lot of these things. So at the moment, the PC editor is about creating making it as easy as possible to create content. But if you're a developer who makes something that then wants to then take that to third-party team, then you can. The content that PC Editor makes is perfectly capable, as seen in Mildmay, of then being used to develop full content. That I say full content. It's an identical editor, but it's just getting the content then published. The biggest sort of hurdle to overcome as someone as a developer using the PC Editor versus someone creating content for distribution is that quite often, in fact, almost all cases when you're using the PC editor, you're linking in other assets. So you're using the track from Goblin Line with the signals from Southeastern, and then that creates this absolute complex web of dependencies to where to use your route, someone would have to own 25 other pieces of DLC. Because you used a tree from that one, a bench from this one. And obviously that's not acceptable. No one wants to have that kind of thing. You want to buy a product that just stands on its own. And actually fixing that list of dependencies is probably the biggest hurdle. It's just not really editor problem. It's more of just a conceptual thing and how people build things generally in a modern community. It's just the right way of doing it in the modern community, but it's not right if you then want to share that with other people with minimal without any dependencies. But our team, Steve, Brian, and David, help you in the third-party team. Will help people who come into that, show them how to do that, and help them fix their content up. So we've already taken a number of people through that process.
Good. Okay. I've seen a few people ask about Tadami Line and a few other projects like Karnak and Timetable, Great Western Express Remaster. If we've not got updates for you in the roadmap, it means that we haven't got things to share with you at this stage in terms of development, things coming along, that sort of thing. They are being worked on, they're being developed, but there's nothing tangible for us to show as part of this roadmap. And when we do have more information, we will of course share that with you. Matt, I don't know if there's anything sort of from behind the scenes you want to share on any of those projects.
No, it's just other than the developers are continuing to work on. They're doing things. They're learning new things. Well, like the Tadami route is in a really really nice place. They've turned their hand now to the train. They've been working on the train for quite some time, and the skill set required to build a train is very different to the skill set required to build a route. So again, they're learning new tools, having a good time. I've seen a screenshot of the train. It's looking superb. So it's coming along, but there is just a process here. It's still, even Tadami Line isn't a lot of people. There's very few people working on that project. So it's these things take time, but it'll be worth it. I'm convinced of that. It's from what I've seen and from what I already know of Union Workshop. They are very passionate about putting out really really awesome stuff.
Yeah. And Amaze tells us says they thought that the GWE remaster was 99% completed. I don't think I certainly don't remember us saying that was 99% completed. I don't know, Matt, if you have.
Well, there is also more to it, just whether it's completed or not.
It requires testing and validation.
Testing. There's a number of things that have to go through, but I believe there are some other things that Liam does need to do that have come back from various things that have been testing and so forth. So there's more work to do, and it is a personal project of Liam, so he's just not got time at the moment. So it'll be when he can. So yeah, it's not a great situation, but it is what it is. The challenge and the opportunity of a personal project is amazing things happen, but they might take a bit longer.
Yeah, I think that's very very important to know, and also I think people have different specialisms as well, which again is I think important to know, in that someone might be amazing at putting timetables together or improving scenery, or some people might be really good at both of those things, but there's probably something they're going to need a bit of help with at some point, and they certainly need help with testing. So when we go through the kind of the normal process we go through to get a piece of content out of the door, it would mean that you then get, as with all pieces of content, you'd be able to submit things, but then you get some feedback. You have to regress and repair things that are not as they need to be, and then you then submit it again. You might get some feedback again, and the cycle continues until you've got something that you're happy with. So all of these projects are kind of in that cycle at the moment of being developed and then being shown and tested and fed back. Some will be quicker than others, but again, when we go through the roadmap, this is kind of what we aim to do with the roadmap, is show you kind of where we are at a point in time. So this is our questions section, everybody. We're going to move. I mean, we kind of touched on a few questions already, but this is our questions section. So please make sure that if you've got any questions, then you submit them in the chat. I will shout about what I said at the start, is that generally, is X coming, is Y coming, kind of questions we're not going to answer, because the answer to that is we can't. We either won't tell you that, or we can't tell you that, or it's not coming, or it's not on the roadmap. Also, yes, no questions. We'd rather answer things that are a little bit more conducive to a conversation. So yeah, have a think about it. We've got some questions already from players, but I'll take some of the best ones from the chat and add them to the list. So first one that I picked out for this month was, we talked a little bit about, I think it was related to the Vectron on Zwolle Groningen, about external developers. How do we involve external developers and experts with our development processes, Matt? I mean, it's obviously it's not just an us project. In most cases, we will be using or working with people who maybe a little bit more local, or people who understand the fineries of things a little bit better. How do we kind of incorporate them into our development process?
I mean, we work with a lot of people who are specialists in various things, whether it's particular locos or particular facets of loco creation or route creation. So, I mean, in a lot of cases, I'll go out to the team, the external developers that I chat to, and just canvass them for if there anything in there that particularly they'd like to work on, that we've got on the upcoming list of things we want to do. And then weigh up the responses and figure out the right place to put everybody, agree with everybody if that's what they actually want to do. It's and also taking into account what the internal team have they got particular things they would like to do as well. So it's an interesting process, involving different people in different ways. I can't
Matt, I think we might have. I think, Matt, we might need you to jump in and out of the. Oh, there we go. I think we've got you back. You went very robotic then for a second, so I don't think anyone actually.
Oh, really?
I don't think actually anyone understood what you were saying, and I was kind of just smiling.
Excellent.
I was smiling and just being like, okay, I hope nobody else can hear this. But
it was outstanding. It was a masterpiece.
We'll have to take your word for it, but would you like to say it again?
Well, just briefly re-summarize. We work with a lot of external developers, and it's. I can't think of a single route or loco we've ever made where we haven't involved external developers somewhere in the process, to a greater or lesser extent. And it actually helps. It helps the diversity of the skills, and it also helps other people benefit from the work that's going on as well. I always go out to the developers to find out, what they would like to participate in, and they come to me and say, "Hey, if you're ever making something like this, I'd like to be involved in it." So there's a good dialogue backwards and forwards. So it's standard practice in the game industry for going and getting external help, and it means that the internal team can focus on what the internal team are really good at. So
yeah, and I think
it's a really good process.
And obviously we've got our beta team as well, which are a kind of a big part of our development process, giving us feedback. They're all kind of part of different expert areas as well. And I know you were talking about, we'll come back to Zwolle Groningen again. You were talking about how one of the members of the beta team operates the locos on a day-to-day basis on that route, and we've been getting some really valuable feedback from them on positive feedback, which is great to hear, but some really interesting feedback from those people who drive that route and operate the trains on that route every day.
Well, I speak to rail fans. I speak to all sorts, and been getting a lot of really positive feedback. You know, sometimes it's technical, sometimes it's just about the experience and how things look. And I'll be capturing what it is for a route to be Dutch, and not just to be have the track plan of a Dutch route and the landscape, but all German buildings. And you know, there has been a moment where it was like that a bit. So it's kind of working out what's important about these things and actually having local expertise in all different walks of life can be crucial to helping us make sure that we're making it meet everyone's expectations. And I think that, particularly in the case of the Dutch route, I'm hearing everyone telling me that it does that in spades.
Great. So we're going to talk a little bit again. So the chap, great name, says, how does the LAMPOIL process work for loco add-ons or gameplay packs? Are there differences or extra challenges? I'm going to ask Matt before we go into that, what is LAMPOIL? And
LAMPOIL.
yes, why would players care about what LAMPOIL is?
A LAMPOIL is our process that's internally for vetting and deciding what content we make. So it's licensing. Do we have the licenses for it? Anticipation. But do players, we think why players want it? Do they talk about things like this? That's the key one where everybody here gets their voice heard. To be honest, that's the main. The A in LAMPOIL is the community. M is the mix. How many different things do you do on it? Well, what kind of services, what kind of trains. P is prominence. I'm trying to remember all this as I go.
I'm impressed so far, Matt.
P is prominence. Is this in the back of nowhere, or is it recognised places? And the back of nowhere might be a recognised place. So it's not always the case that the Nullarbor Desert is quite well known actually, even though it's in the middle of nowhere and is a very straight railroad. So maybe that features a bit higher on prominence. These things are not always obvious. Always the opportunity for expansion and for doing things. Interest, I think, is I, but I can't remember what it means. And L is limitations, and limitations is, are there any limitations that the game engine might impose? There are any limitations we have to work within that might damage the appeal. Like if we can't get to deliver this whole thing, like we don't do real time, we don't do player container loading, for example. And if a route is fabulous in everyone's eyes, but you can't do real container loading, and it's crucial to the route, then maybe that's not the right route to make, or at least it needs it needs that feature added to it, or that limitation resolved. So that's where we take into account, that whole process is kind of a full review of everything that we want to consider. I mean, we employ that for everything we do, although less so for gameplay packs, because gameplay packs tend to be much smaller, leaner, and we have so in addition to the LAMPOIL process, we also have a focus group internally, of which myself, JD, are members, but most of the rail fans in the company are members as well. And Lucas is in there, lots of people, and we all talk over ideas, and we'll see, think about it. So there's a community team. We've got representation in that group as well, so they know as well what the community have been talking about and how they think the community might react to a particular idea. So there's lots of there's lots of stuff considered. Gameplay packs generally it's just in the focus group because they're small packs, they're lightweight. Loco DLC get every bit of attention the same as a route DLC. And it's just a question of going through that process. And actually, Steve and the third-party team runs the LAMPOIL process. And a big shout out. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of research that he does, and he pulls out. There's a report that comes out with everything, with a bit of a detailed analysis of how he thinks the particular proposal scores on these things and why. Something scoring well doesn't necessarily mean we'll make it. Something scoring bad doesn't necessarily mean we'll make it. It's a part of a process, albeit it's a very important part of that process. So generally, if it scores badly, we probably wouldn't make it. But it might mean that we'll go back, tweak the idea, and put another one in instead, and see how that one goes. So that's been known to happen, and Steve has said stop it a couple of times. So.
I'll give you 6 out of 7, Matt. I think you did very well with that very impromptu quiz. But I is intelligence.
Intelligence.
Refers to aligning a release with real-world events that may elevate the add-on if completed by a
That's
specific
it.
milestone. So, like, if there's a festival going on or something that is a real-life event, then there's something we can maybe highlight alongside it. So, yeah, I think you did very well, though, to be fair. I'll let you off with that one. Right, okay, so question on tracking trains asked, any plans to implement guard mode to other older routes?
Sorry. Guard mode to older routes.
Yes.
No active plans. I mean, that's not to say it'll never happen, but it's on a case by case basis. We've got no active plans we are not planning to just roll it out as a feature across the catalogue or anything like that.
Yeah, I think look at like sort of West Somerset Railway, for instance. If there's an opportunity for us to go back and improve older routes when we maybe layer extra content onto it, for instance, then we'll try and take the opportunity where we can do. But as I say, it's a standard feature for all applicable trains moving forward. But when we go backwards and there's an opportunity to do so, generally we'll try and capture that opportunity.
Someone actually, Amaze Toes just asked or noted about the previous topic about should get players involved in the focus group. Actually, the beta team, I forgot to mention that. The beta team, which is players, are heavily involved in that process. In fact, generally, I will be consulting with the beta team before I even go anywhere near a LAMPOIL process. Yeah. Players like yourselves are heavily involved in this process at all levels.
Yeah, it's a really good litmus test, and it helps to inform that A of LAMPOIL, right? Anticipation. So.
Yeah. No, we have some very vigorous, challenging discussions. They are not yes people or anything like that. They will tell me how it is and how it isn't, and where I'm right and where I'm wrong. They are not afraid to do that, and I love that. Actually, I've told them that on a number of occasions because some people have said, "I feel like it's been a bit harsh this evening." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been exactly what I needed to hear, though." So it's it's a really good process. But actually, I go to the beta Discord before I go anywhere else.
Nice. Okay. Question from Blue Games asking for an API update.
So the API update is coming around about the same time as the update to the public editor does. So I don't have a time frame for it, but that is all bundled into coming out in the same time frame. So again, once we have a better idea of where that sits, the problem is you can't just put things out in a bunch. There's an order of things. There's a time that these things take, and so they end up being a linear sort of list of things that go out. But we've bundled the API stuff with the public editor stuff. It's kind of like a ways people can influence the game in and out and everything that's involved, because the public editor changes do include a bunch of core game changes as well, because we've changed how mods are loaded and handled for the better, so that it's more clean, more transparent, works better with the way that the editor interfaces with them and so forth. So there's a bunch of stuff there. But yeah, when you start hearing stuff about PC Editor, API is in that chain.
Yeah. Okay. I was not expecting that answer. That's a good answer. Good. Okay, so UVM asked a very similar question to the guard mode question. What's the current status of suspension update for older rolling stock? As far as we're aware, everything that when we launched a Train Sim World 5 that we said would have suspension now does. Similar answer to what we said for guard mode, in that where there is the opportunity to do so, we will do, as in the case of West Somerset. Yeah, it's going to be a case by case thing.
Yep.
Hentis asks, will the Class 33 from West Somerset Railway get livery designer compatibility?
Not on the cards to do that. It's a non-trivial job, unfortunately.
Okay. It's Garav1 asks, could there be an increase in LOD for those who can run it?
So one of the things I am talking with the team about, and this is not for any time in the immediate future at all, but I would like to have at some point a set of advanced settings. I mean, if you're on a PC, you can go and tweak your engine.ini at your own risk, but there are guides in the forums. People have got some really interesting insights into engine.ini settings if you're on a PC, of course, and that'll allow you to tweak it. But what I'd like to do is have some advanced settings so that it's just sliders or things you can do in the game, but I don't know when that'll happen, so I don't expect that anytime soon.
Okay. Robert Schultz asked, will there be any more PC Editor Masterclasses? I think we kind of touched on that to a certain extent. There are some good tutorials now that we've shared on YouTube, on the roadmap article from one of one of our team internally. I think in terms of the PC Editor updates, we've already talked about those. We'll have to. I think we'll revisit when we've got, I guess, the editor in the position that after that update, because I think that will add a lot of additional functionalities to it.
Once that's out, then we can reevaluate what we're doing on that front, and because it should resolve the challenges that were making those hard to produce.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Question from where are we? From Great Western Photography says, will there be a fix for Z fighting on Xbox? I know that's a topic that comes up quite a lot related to Xbox players.
So there is no hard, simple one thing fix for that. That's a thing that has to be fixed on a per content by content basis. So it should not be a problem on anything going forwards, but it probably isn't going to be looked at on older content.
Okay. Nate Dogg asks, Semmeringbahn and Ludwigsbahn received less layers on Xbox Series S, but it wasn't advertised. Why was that? Do you want me to take this one, Matt?
Go for it.
So as part of the development process, we always want to try and get as much as we can into a piece of content. So we'll generally go for best case scenario and then have to scale it back when we understand what the limitations of each of the different platforms has. Obviously, Gen 8, Gen 9 there's quite a big discrepancy between what those two are possible, what is possible for both of those. Xbox Series S fits sort of somewhere in the middle. So it is a little bit more of a case-by-case basis, and it often does mean that when we get really close to kind of having to make tough decisions on what does get included and what doesn't get included, it's normally the last one to kind of for us to fall on a position on. So there were some that went quite late, and we apologise for that. It is something that we will be looking to establish a lot earlier in the future, but as I say, it's because of the way that we'd want to try and get as much in for players as possible, and sometimes we have to remove some stuff fairly late notice.
I don't like to cut the Series S timetable unless we have to. Certainly don't want to get into a place where we're defaulting to delivering half an experience on the Series S.
We want to give as much time as possible, don't we?
Yeah, sometimes you just get to the end and you're like, look, there's nothing else to optimize down on this. We're just going to have to start removing some stuff. So, and again, the Series S can have its own timetable. So, we can work out what the right level of experience is for Series S without it having to necessarily be a full Gen 8 drop. But the problem, one of the challenges with the Series S is that with this 6 gigabytes less memory compared to the Series X, it's also then using all the Series X's big, chunky, lovely assets. So actually, it's got less memory and bigger things that it's trying to put in that memory, and that's where some of the challenge goes. So, but as I say, one of the things we're doing, we're looking at the optimization of the game anyway as a more broad thing, not just in terms of the blurry textures and so forth that we've been seeing there and some of the crashing that people have been experiencing. But we're looking at it across the board to find, as much as possible, not only in the content but in the game where we can trim these things down, and that will hopefully allow the Series S itself to have more of an opportunity as well. So, the optimization task really kind of fits in a couple of areas which will help the game more broadly.
Great. We have time, I would say, for one more question from the chat, everybody. So this is your last chance. Throw something in the chat that is going to get us, if you want us to stay online, get us talking for a few minutes, and you know that we love to talk. So let us know for one final question, and then we'll call it an evening. Let's see what the chat have got. Give us your best shot, everybody. We'd like to have some meaty questions we can get stuck into. Some very specific questions going in so far.
Yeah, when it comes to questions about Garbode on Groningen Line and couplers on the ICM, let's do that in the Groningen stream.
Yeah.
When we post the Q&A thread, put your questions in there as soon as possible so I can go get you answers, and maybe we can even demo it and show you what happens actually in the stream. I actually have no idea what the answer to your questions are.
This is why we do research beforehand. Okay, there's a couple of
Yeah,
questions
exactly.
that I'll bundle into one answer. It's not the most long answer in the world, but Lady Sophie of Hugon Manor, that's a great name. Peak Forest and 104 progress update, and then Mitch said, did you show Manchester Airport yet? So we're going to bundle those into one kind of conversation like we did earlier with regards to things like the GWE Remaster. If we haven't provided an update in the roadmap, it is because that we haven't got anything tangible really to show at this stage. So both of those projects still being worked on. I believe Alan of ATS put something out on their Facebook page a couple of last week, I think, around some of the challenges that they've experienced over the course of the last couple of months. But it sounds like they're back on track and they're starting to kind of make some real progress on the Manchester Airport piece of content. And the same to be said for SimTrack as well. So we'll keep you updated as and when we know more. But as we've kind of found over the course of, I guess, as we've brought more partners into Train Sim World, everybody works at different times. Everybody does, like, some people for this is their hobby. Some people for them they do it after their working day. Everyone's got busy lives. Some of them are one person bands. Some of them are larger groups of individuals working. So you will find that all of these different partners will have different outputs and different speeds of outputs, so different desires to make sure that things get out in a certain time frame. So we'll give you more. Trust us, we want to show all of the nice shiny things that we possibly can do, but we also have to be realistic with some of this stuff, and we also have to make sure that we are protecting some of those partners as well, particularly if we by not kind of going too deep into things and talking too much about things that are still a while away from being released at this stage. I went on a bit of a monologue there, Matt. Anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll call it a day for there. I'm just going to quickly show the roadmap image one more time so that you can see. In fact, no, I won't do the roadmap image. I'll show the springtime sprint image, so you can see what's coming up over the course of March. Very exciting stuff. We have Mildmay Line, which launched earlier this week. We have Cardiff City Network coming on the 18th of March, as announced today. If you haven't checked out the first look video, I really recommend that you do so, and there's an article today with some new screenshots as well. Then we have Zwolle Groningen, which comes out towards the back end of March. We have Train Sim World VR New York, which is on the 27th of March. That will come to the MetaQuest, so if you're interested in that, please check out the MetaQuest page. It's 10% discount until for pre-order. And then we've got all of this other stuff as well. We've got preview streams for all of the content. We have got some sales bits. We can't talk too much about them, but there is generally always sales in March. And we have the East Coast Main Line pack from Athena Simulations as well, and a couple of other bits and pieces near the bottom if you're interested in boxed. And Train Simulator Classic had a release today, and we'll continue to put content out for Train Sim Classic over the course of the next few months and years. Okay, let's go back to the face cams. Let us finish up for the evening, Matt. Any kind of final words before we finish for the day?
Excited about lots of great content. Keen to get off the stream and start playing it again.
You are jumping onto it actually, aren't you? After you've already said you're going to be jumping onto it after the live stream. So.
Oh yeah, totally. I need to go and have me a good look at that Dutch route. I've not really had a look at it yet. I keep seeing beautiful screenshots from the beta testers. It's making me very jealous. There's that. But otherwise, no, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone watching and everyone that's sending in the feedback and so forth. It's very good. Really appreciated. And just again reiterate that we are looking into the blurry textures and those other issues. They are a priority for us.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you. I'm just going to echo Matt, so thank you to everybody who's watched. Alex will hopefully have recovered by next month, and he'll be joining you back on the Roadmap live streams. But I hope you've enjoyed the cameo. It's always nice to come back and do some live stream bits and pieces here and there. So hope you have a lovely rest of your days. Hope you're excited as we are for March, and all of the great content that we've got to come with Train Sim World. So have a lovely evening, everybody. We will see you on the other side, and we hope that this time next month we will have an amazing selection of content for you to enjoy. Have a good evening, everyone.
Yeah.